Chris from Haunt Tech Tips here with the in-depth review of the Lepy LP-V9S mini power amplifier. For home haunters or even pro haunters, this is a cool little device. Found on Amazon. It's packaged very well. Very short little instruction manual, but pretty straightforward. And the English in it is not too bad. This is definitely a made-in-China device, but then again, that comes with the price point. You'll see it's packaged very well. The amplifier, very small, lightweight unit. It has a dB meter here. You can adjust your bass and treble, volume adjustments, SD card reader, and a thumb drive reader. And of course, with an adapter, you could use a micro SD with an SD card adapter. All metal construction, aluminum, wall mountable, that's very nice. On the back you have stereo audio input and seemingly stereo audio output. You also have a conventional headphone type line input, DC 12 volts, 2 amps. That's very handy for trail haunters. You could run this off of a car battery if you need to. And very nice solid push terminals here. Also an antenna, so you have some FM radio as well. Also included in the box, we have a small remote. From the looks of things, you can operate this using just the front panel buttons. The remote's a nice little addition. However, keep in mind if you have more than one of these units mounted in a central location, this is an infrared type remote, so it's going to trigger more than one at a time, unless you're very careful with that. Also includes our power adapter. Looks like about a 6-foot cable, thereabouts. And output 13.5 volts DC at 3 amps, so plenty of power to run the amplifier here. So we'll get her hooked up and get some first impressions here. Alright, so very first impression, this is something very useful for haunters. You'll notice there is a mode button which also doubles as a power button. However, if the unit is left turned on, as it was when it was delivered to me, and you plug it in, the unit will boot itself up. We'll test next to see if it returns to the same mode it was in before you unplugged it. Alright, so I've loaded some music onto this 32 gig SD card. I've turned the unit off. Going to insert the card. I always like to turn SD readers off before inserting or removing media, just so there's no risk of corruption. I'll turn the unit back on here. We're in FM mode. I'll hit mode, AUH, load, SD. Okay, so we're in SD mode now, and we are playing. I'm going to cut the power. Alright, power has been cut. Going to restore power. And let's see what it does. Loading, SD1. And we are resuming where we were. For haunts, that is huge. That way, if you have a master show control, or even just at the end of the night you cut power, this will pick right back up where it was. I'll do some longer term testing, make sure that works if you leave it off for an hour or two, but so far so good. Also, I do see you see a scrolling effect on screen there. You don't see that in person at all. They're solid numerals. That's just a effect of the frame rate of the camera, or refresh rate of the screen and frame rate of the camera rather. So far so good. You can lose power, it picks right back up where it was. I'll do that one more time. I was thinking this could possibly even work with a prop controller if you have a very short looping piece of audio. However, I'm not sure how the amplifier would hold up over time to repeated power losses and reboots. It does look like it went back to the 3-second mark in the audio, not the 40-second mark where it was at. However, again, I'm not too concerned about that. I'm just concerned that it boots up and runs automatically. As anyone with a decentralized haunt setup knows, or even a centralized location with multiple amplifiers, it's some work to get everything playing. So yes, it looks like it does resume. So I'm going to also set it on loop. It looks like this loops by default. That's actually also quite handy. I don't have any speakers connected at the moment, so I'll keep the volume down so I'm not affecting anything. I'll give it a slight smidge of volume just so I can cut power. Now we know it's totally drained. Reconnect power. Easier done with two hands than one. This does draw a little bit of current too. You can actually hear there's some sparking when the power is cut and restored. There we go. So it does resume at the beginning of the file. It just takes it a moment for the timer to start ticking along. But again, that is huge for haunters. The ability to cut power at the end of the night, come back the next day, turn this on, and it's ready to roll. So we'll hook up some speakers and see how they sound. So here we are at the improvised workbench with part 2 of the Lepy LP-V9S review. Have two 6-ohm Sony 3-way speakers. This is a Goodwill find. If you watch the Facebook page, you saw these pop up. $10 for the pair. Hard to believe. They're actually pretty good speakers. The Lepy amp can run between 4 and 8 ohms. 4 ohms is going to take more power from it. 8 ohms will take less. So long story short, the higher the ohm rating, the more sensitive the speaker, the less power it takes to run the speaker. So you want to get speakers that are 6 or 8 ohms if you can. That way you'll be able to get some more volume and you won't have to run your amps quite as hard. So here we go, we'll fire it up. You be the judge. I think it sounds pretty good for a $30 amp. The one drawback to this amp, there's no subwoofer output. So you have to keep that in mind. If you want to have additional bass, you're just going to have to get good speakers. Or run that totally separately. You could run a subwoofer in line and then have your audio input, so you just have to split your audio to the sub and then to this, but you wouldn't be able to use the MP3 player input using either SD card or USB stick. Turn this back down a little bit. There is one other flaw I've located. That is that the antenna, if you're not careful, will short out your speaker terminals if you have spare copper hanging out of the back. So be very careful of that. I would just recommend spinning the antenna around, or if you're wall mounting it straight up, just keep it away from here. You don't want it shorting out if the speaker wire pulls loose or anything like that. But overall, for a $30 amp, I'm pretty happy with it. Hope this helps.